The hardest things I've ever had to do is fix a sync problem. Synchronization, particularly between analog and digital equipment, is a bit of a black magic kind of job. It's a bit of a dark art when you have to figure out why a hard disk recording system is running at a sample rate that's slightly unusual. So it's not running at 44,100 samples a second, it's running at 43,900. And you've got to figure out what is causing it to slow down by that particular amount, where the problem lies, whether things are actually still in sync, and so on. A lot of people underestimate the importance of synchronization, but every professional job almost requires it. You can get into scenarios where you've got audio and MIDI in the same piece of software that are running out of sync with one another. And most people don't realize it. And that's one of the big troubleshooting tests.
It's one of those things that you don't really know. It's not, if it's there, you notice that something's wrong, but you maybe can't really figure out what it is. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, if you take a sync problem, like for example, audio and MIDI in Cubase, and you've programmed some MIDI that's playing live in a virtual, in a sound module, and you've bounced it into the software at the same time, then the audio that you've bounced in plays at a rate determined by the sample rate.
Okay. All right.
Yeah. The MIDI is following a bars and beats grid. So if you now sync this up and you do it incorrectly, you can get the audio running faster or slower than the MIDI performance, at least for one audio file, and you can get timing issues because of it, because the pitch in audio is determined by the sample rate.
Well, doesn't some software claim to do that automatically? It really doesn't, though.
I haven't so far seen a software solution that does that kind of sync for you. It's always a question of somebody has to set it up properly first.
And that is why you teach the basics.
That's why you teach the basics, yes. Yeah.
And that's probably one of the problems that you see people coming in with, is they're like, that sounds fine to me.
There's a lot of that sounds fine to me, and that's also one of the things that we have to work on. Ear training, making people aware of problems so that they will detect them. And sync is particularly difficult in that kind of respect, because you can go into a studio and set up sync one way, incorrectly, and it will still sound fine while you're in that session. As soon as you take the recording out of the context of that studio and you use it in a different sync setup, things go wrong. So you don't have the original setup to rely on anymore, you don't know why it's wrong, and then you have to reverse engineer it and troubleshoot it.
So you might as well get it right the first time.
If you don't get it right the first time, you will spend hours getting it back in time.
Oh, okay, and so as far as solving that problem, it really is specific to how you're generating it to begin with.
But more importantly, it requires an understanding of how the sync works and how things can go wrong in it.
So this is